Hello.
Why is the music still playing?
I don't know why the music's still playing. Make it. Oh, there you go.
What's going on? It's still playing.
I don't know why the music's still playing. Make it. Oh,
You sound like you have two windows open, maybe, Mark. Do you?
That's better.
Also, I can hear echo, I think.
I think it's good now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. To the professional stream that we have here at Niche Website Builders. Yeah. How you doing, Adam?
I am doing very well, thank you. Thanks for asking. Getting slowly back into day-to-day life, having definitely got a case of the holiday blues, even though I was only away for the weekends. So, yeah, looking forward to the next one
between continents.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a bit of a come down after snorkeling between continents. Yeah. So
how are you?
Adam's, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, the sun is out. I feel like spring's here. It's a beautiful day today. Blue skies, looking good. So yeah, very happy. So today we're going to be talking about what you need to know about buying and selling websites online.
Yes.
So lots and lots of stuff to cover. We're going to be talking about the different types of websites you can buy. Thinking about what strategy you want to employ when you're buying those websites. We're going to go through some website due diligence. So what you need to look out for when you think about buying a website online, or buying a website. Full stop. And we're going to go through deal flow, places where you can find websites available. And then we're going to wrap it up at the end about talking about how you go about valuing a website. So lots and lots to cover. I have a feeling there'll be quite a few questions along the way. Feel free to like the channel and subscribe. That allows us to get in front of more people. Please YouTube's algorithm, so we can get some more people watching the show and allowing us to record some more too. So, anything else you want to cover off? I missed some stuff last time, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. We're going to do if we get 25 likes, we're going to do the giveaway, right?
Yeah, start smashing the likes, everybody. So if we get 25 likes, we'll give away some Niche Website Builders merch, of which I still haven't got any to show you, but we really should order some and then have some to show you. But yeah, we've got t-shirts, caps, mugs, that kind of stuff. So you can take your pick, but we'll do a thing at the end. So we've got some regulars in here. So we've got Gustavo, Eleanor, Chris, Birdie, currently on the stream, and our friend Facebook user as well.
Hello, Facebook user.
Cool. So should we get started?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just to iterate the point, ask any questions at all about buying and selling websites. I feel like I'm particularly qualified to answer most questions. Me and Mark were just having a quick look beforehand, and in the last 12 months, I bought 11 websites in the last 12 months, so almost one a month, and spent a significant amount of money buying those and improving them. So I bought, when we talk through some of the the platforms to buy from today, of the 5 we talk about, I've actively bought off 4, and I've been through most situations buying and selling sites. So any question, however niche you think it is or strange, then just feel free to check it in the chat.
Yeah, we're talking about it before. Adam, if you listen to our podcast or listen to us for any time at all, you know that Adam's getting worse, actually. Serial flipper of websites and buys a lot of websites, improves them and sells them on quite quickly. Quite often, you do keep some as well.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm kind of more. I've rarely bought a website. I'm more about starting from scratch and growing them and take a little bit longer over that whole process. So pluses and minuses for both. We're going to talk about those on future streams, actually, like the different ways that we do things and how it works. So they're coming up. But for now, we'll get started on today's episode then. So we've already got 14 likes. So we're well on the way there to the giveaway.
Nice.
So start things off then. So what is it? Let's talk about the type of websites you can buy.
Yeah, well, I put this point in there as a point of talking, just because even before you you do everything else that we talk about today, or consider buying a website, you need to consider two main things. One is, what kind of website are you going to buy? And by that, I mean, are you going to be looking for an e-commerce website? Are you going to be looking for a website that's monetized through display ads? Are you going to be looking for a website that is monetized through just affiliate commission? And each of those have their own nuances. I'm not very familiar with e-commerce sites. I'm very comfortable with display ad and affiliate-based websites. And over time, my investment strategies changed. I gravitate more towards content or display ad websites these days. But understanding what kind of website you want to buy is important, is an important first step, I think. Otherwise, you're just going to go into this blindly and you'll get a little bit of shiny object syndrome and think, that as you go through the marketplaces, that site's making a lot of money and it doesn't cost that much. I'm going to buy it. And then you realize it's an e-commerce site and you've got, you need a lot of capital to buy stock and you need a team to help you. Just understanding the type of website and the business model behind it that you're going to buy first is important, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we've got a question from Chris already. How much impact would a website having? Okay, yeah. We can take this one now. I was just seeing if we're going to cover it later, but
yeah. Do you want to answer, or do you want me to go through?
Okay, I want to reread it because I didn't actually take it in. How much impact would a website having multiple previous owners have on the price a domain sells for? I think it depends. You wouldn't want to have too many, but it depends on how consistently the website has been in the past. So if it's got lots of previous owners, but they've kind of all been along the same lines, then I think that's fine. But there's kind of a limit to that. I guess you wouldn't want to have change hands many times. Go on.
I'm going to challenge you on that, because how would you know? How would you know it's changed hands? How would you know that it's had previous owners?
Actually, so okay. I was thinking as previous owners, as in completely repurposed, so a new design.
That's
what I was
assuming
thinking.
he means how many owners a website has had before you come to buy it. That's the way I interpreted it. Maybe different interpretation.
Yeah. So I think on the former, then, so you can answer the second one then, but on the former, okay. I would say as long as there's consistency. We talk about having relevance in a website. So as long as the relevance is the same, if it was started out as a golf site and it's always been a golf site, then that's fine. I wouldn't worry too much about it, within reason. If it's had 15 different owners over 10 years or something, then maybe you want to think why that might have been, and maybe steer clear. But in terms of actual physical people owners, then what do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to tell, to be honest. There are some telltale signs if they've left the old owners access in Google Analytics or Search Console. You can see a couple of different email accounts in there for access. But apart from that, I think it's really hard to tell unless the owner is truthful. Typically, if I'm selling a website and I've owned it for 6 months, I'll say that I bought it 6 months ago, so they know I'm not the original owner, or I've only had it for a short period of time. But if I was buying a website, it wouldn't factor in really on the price that I would be paying for it. I'm more looking at some of the other stuff we'll talk about, the traffic and the revenue and the trend, rather than how many owners it's had.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so let's get going with the website due diligence. What's the things that you look out for when you're buying a site?
Yeah, well, even just taking a step back before that, just kind of covering off the last point we talked about. Once you've decided what type of website you're going to buy and be invested in, I think even before you start looking, it's important to have a plan in place on what specific skill sets you have, or do you have a plan for outsourcing content? Do you have a plan for outsourcing link building if you're not going to do it yourself? And having a plan of what you can bring to the table when you buy a website will impact the type of website you start looking for. And again, just because I've got lots of personal experience with this, I specifically look for websites that are undervalued, under-monetized, maybe have some issues that I can fix, because that's the skill set that I bring. Whereas I wouldn't even consider looking at an e-commerce store and trying to find a different supplier to increase my margin. That wouldn't be my plan, because I have no experience. So figuring out what your plan should be, not just what type of website, but what you plan to do with it is a super starting point, I think. And now we're going to diligence again.
Yeah, no. So I mean, I guess I mean, generally, I guess for the most part, you're thinking short-term plans for the website, right? If you're planning,
Yeah.
if you're planning to flip, you're not thinking of setting this up long-term for someone else. You're thinking about short-term gains more.
Personally, yeah, for my flip sites.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Awesome.
onto the due diligence. Like I've literally got a checklist of things that you should probably check. So I'll just go through them one by one, and you can give some input as well as we go.
Yeah. Go for it.
And I guess also this is important, not just if you're buying a website, but if you're selling a website. I see some people asking questions in like some of the groups about, I'm trying to sell my website. What should I show the somebody who's interested? They're frightened of giving too much access or giving away too much. So most of these things are normal, I guess. The first thing is the first thing you want to see is Google Analytics. You want access to Google Analytics. Typically, that'll be read-only access, so you can't go in there and look at anything else. You can't remove anybody's users, but you can just go in and view the data. And once you have access to analytics, there's definitely a couple of top things you want to check. You want to have a good check through, but there's definitely a couple of top things. So first thing I always look at is the source of traffic. So of the traffic the website is getting, where is that coming from? Is it coming from organic, which is typically Google, or is it coming from social, Pinterest or Facebook? Is it direct? And when it's direct, you have to wonder where that is because you can't really attribute it to anywhere. Is it referral, or lots of other websites sending traffic? And all this will tie into the plan you made at the start. So, one of my criteria is the majority of the traffic has to be organic from Google. That's what I know. I don't really know social very well. So the first thing I look at, breakdown of traffic, source of traffic, is the majority of it from Google organic? And if it is, then that passes my box, essentially. You also want to look at the geo of where the traffic is coming from. And if it's multiple sources, if you've got some from social and some from organic, you want to break it down by geo, by source as well. And this is important, especially if you are going after display ad revenue. So display ad networks will pay significantly higher usually for tier 1 countries. So US, Canada, UK, Australia, and then they'll pay significantly less for tier 2, like India and countries like that, which they consider would be like tier 2 traffic. So you want to make sure if you're buying a website and you plan to monetize it with display ads, or you plan to increase the monetization with display ads, you probably want to look for tier 1 countries in there.
Yeah.
The other thing you look at is top pages by traffic, and this gives you an idea of how is the traffic distributed across the top pages. And what you want to look for is like a nice even split across all the pages. It never works out like that. Usually you'll have 20%. We talked about this rule before. 20% of your pages will be driving 80% of your traffic. But what you don't want to see is one page responsible for 50 or 60% of the traffic. It's a point of failure. If you lose a couple of rankings for that, a couple of keywords for that page, it's going to have a massive impact on the site traffic and ultimately the value.
We've definitely seen that. That happens not. You do see it reasonably often, actually, don't you? It's just rank one page is really taking a lot of the traffic from the site. That is, yeah.
You tend to see it on newer sites. I think like less established websites tends to be the case. Typically, as the site has more pages and is more established, that it spreads out more. But yeah, I've definitely seen sites where like 80% of the traffic is for one page, which is a significant risk.
So if you wanted to give a rule of thumb to somebody, like what would you say is the maximum you want to see one page getting in terms of percentage of traffic?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bendable rule, but usually like no more than 20-30% max, I think, would be like where you'd be comfortable with.
Yeah. And then after that, you'd want to see a more even distribution, I guess, after that. If it was 30% with one and then 30% with another, like that's right.
Yeah, one page is fine, but if you've got like dependence on just 3 or 4 pages for 90% of the traffic, it's a pass then for me.
Yeah.
You want to look at the traffic trends. So ideally, when you're looking at this account in analytics, it's got lots of history depending on how old the website is. One of the things that I typically look for when buying a website is stability over a long period of time. And I should probably quantify what long means over the last 2 years. And the reason it's 2 years is there's been so many Google updates over the last 2 years that if a website has stayed fairly steady throughout those updates, and up and downs are fine, but fairly steady, then again, that for me that's a good tick. What I don't want to see is a massive drop off during one of the Google updates, a period where it's maintained low and then it's come back in another update or anything like that. It just signals to me that there's something there that potentially Google might not like again in the future, and you might be on borrowed time or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then has it been hitting any updates essentially, which I guess is kind of covering off the same thing there.
Yeah. Okay.
I wonder if it's also worth mentioning here as well. I know I see people talking about like average time on page and bounce rate, and we talked about it in our stream yesterday with Doug and Alex. Somebody asked the question, what's your average bounce rate and time on page? And it's actually, I think, would surprise a traditional business owner that most of these types of websites have a very high bounce rate, 70, 80, 90%. And it's usually because of the type of content that you're targeting. It's usually very long tail, very typically question-based content. And someone's either going to come to the website and find the answer for that very specific question, or they're going to click back and look for the next result. What they're probably not going to do is say, I didn't find the answer for this, but hold on, they've got an article about a totally different topic or a totally different question, or they don't tend to do that. So it's probably worth mentioning a low time on site and a high bounce rate usually is nothing too much to worry about with these types of sites either.
Yeah, it's normal, and I guess Google must know that and work that out as well, because it doesn't seem to be an issue. That is just the path of the course for blogs, really, isn't it? Or a lot of niche site kind of blogs, I guess. I guess there's some blogs where people got a reputation they come to read on a daily basis or whatever, but generally, you don't get that many repeat visitors quite often as well, unless someone is constantly Googling about, if you've got a site about plants, then they're constantly Googling it and you're constantly ranking for the stuff they're Googling for. But yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. Anything else to add on due diligence?
Oh, loads on due diligence. That was just on Google Analytics.
Oh, it was, yeah. Oh, yeah, that was point one. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Due diligence over.
Cool.
Yeah, so the next thing that somebody would probably be interested in looking at is the revenue data. And usually you'd want to either, if you're selling the website or buying the website, you want to see that in the form of a P&L statement where you've got the revenue sources broken down. So it could be Amazon, Ezoic, another affiliate program, and you can see the split per month, and then all the costs associated. So hosting costs, if you've got an email opt-in, you might be using ConvertKit. So what does that cost you every month? Do you have a VA that does X, Y, Z? Like, put all the costs in there. To see, how much the site is actually making and what those sources are essentially. And in there, like if you're buying a website, in there you can uncover opportunity usually. So if, for example, it's only monetized through an affiliate program, but it's getting lots of traffic, an easy win is to go and add display ad revenue. So you can see opportunity there. Or if they're using Amazon affiliate as one partner and they're using another program for another partnership, and you can see that Amazon makes up a big chunk of the revenue, bigger than the other affiliate, is there opportunity that you could switch some of those links to a higher paying affiliate program, for example?
Mm-hmm.
Dig in there, not just to understand the revenue, but to understand what opportunities there potentially are as well.
Yeah. I think the other thing to mention on that point as well is that if you're getting further down the road, and especially if it's a site that's it's going to cost you a decent amount of money, you're going to want to see more than just screenshots and stuff of this. You're going to want to at least jump on a screen share and get them to log into their whatever accounts they're monetized with, and actually show you because you think about it, like actually they can send you screenshots of anything as well. Yes, you want to be able to get in there and make sure that the revenue is genuine revenue. And
also that comes on to another point later, is when you do the deal, and typically you use like an escrow provider, they provide an inspection period where you've usually 7 to 14 days where you both agree on a period. Like it's almost like a grace period. You've got whole of the website, you swap out your affiliate links against theirs, and then you've got that time to verify that the revenue's coming in and the clicks are coming in, and so you've got 2 points of check in there as well.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Is that it on revenue data?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty straightforward. Like you just want to see
Yeah.
how it's made up, and yeah, you use that as well. We'll talk about later how to value the website. So you use that again later. But at first point of contact, you just want to see, is this making the kind of money you expect, and how is it broken down?
Okay. Let's take this question while we're here. Do you often change the brand theme when flipping sites?
Don't usually change the brand, so I won't change. Typically, I won't change. Well, I won't change the name of the website because I don't want to change the URL of the website. But I will sometimes change the theme if I feel changing it will improve display ad revenue. So I bought one site that was, I don't even remember what theme it was. Horrible theme. The sidebar was on the wrong side and it was small and it just looked horrible. And then when I tried to make some quick win amends, it just didn't work. So I swapped it over to Astra. The downside to that is typically when I buy a website, if it's monetized through Ezoic, for example, I'll email my Ezoic account rep and I'll ask them to transfer the AI data, the placement data, over to my account. So it's not starting afresh. But when you change the theme, essentially you are starting afresh. All the placeholders have to be added again, and all that data is lost. And you'll see a hit on your EMBP and revenue while it kind of relearns what those placeholders are and that kind of stuff. But in the long term, it's almost always better.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, yeah. I guess it's yeah. I guess you got to evaluate each site on its own merit, right? Is it going to be worth? Yeah. Is it going to be worth the extra effort to do that and the hit that you're going to take potentially with any earnings as well?
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for the question, Cameron.
Yeah. So then the next thing I always check, and this almost comes as an afterthought sometimes, because you see the analytics and you see like an upward trend, and then you see the monetization. You think this is great, it's diversified, or it's exactly what I'm looking for. But then you've got to check the quality of the content. And I've seen some websites out there where the traffic is going up, the monetization looks great, and then you check the quality of the content, and it's either clearly like AI spam stuff, which has not been edited and is just literally pushed out, doesn't make any sense. Or it's non-native English content. It's just not great content, and you have to consider then, especially if it's a large purchase. All right, the short-term metrics might be all headed in the right direction, but does it have longevity? And in my opinion, it doesn't. So I almost always, if I see bad quality content, then it's a red flag, and I'll walk away straight away. To be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. You might be just a ticking time bomb. And that kind of brings me to another question, actually, as well, because it's not in the list that we've got you put together here. But do you ever, I mean, I guess you go through like Wayback Machine as well and check the history of the site, because the site might be doing well now, built on a, but what was the relevance of its past, I guess, because we've seen that problem as well, right?
Yeah, well, it depends. It depends on a site-by-site basis. If a site has got 2 or 3 years of Google Analytics history and I'm comfortable with that, then I won't check it. But if someone's selling a website and it's built on an expired domain, or it's a new website and I feel it could have been built on an expired domain, then I'll check. The last thing you want to do is buy one of these sites that was a restaurant and now it's a website about cars, for example, or something like that. So you do check. Assuming that you don't have the a couple of years of analytics data, essentially. If I do have that, then it's less of a concern.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. What's next?
Quality of the backlink profile, and this one is a bit more nuanced because it's sometimes a little bit difficult to see. Does it have any PBNs? And that can be quite hard sometimes to identify if someone's done a good job of making PBNs, for example. Or does it have an expired domain or an aged domain 301 redirected into it that you have to be aware of, and you have to factor that into the sale. You have to get control of that domain. So taking some time to go through the backlink profile, see if there's anything that looks a little bit dodgy in there. Does it have these 301 redirects? Having a look at the anchor text. Are there a lot of exact match keywords anchor text in there, which suggests they've done an extensive amount of link building and maybe not in the correct way? They haven't diversified the anchor text correctly and stuff. And again, these things can be there even with a website that's trending upwards. but I feel like you're probably just buying a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
It might still continue trending upwards for the next 6 months, but sooner or later something's going to happen probably, and yeah, it's going to go downhill. So I guess I almost treat this as if like go back and watch one of our expired our age domain videos and the due diligence we do on an age domain, and the backlinks we check and the anchor text we check. You want to do the same checks for if you're buying a website, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much the same. They're all the same stuff that we spoke about on the last 2 age domain streams. So yeah,
yeah, literally is.
Awesome.
The next one I put in here is it's a little bit fluffy, but it's why is the owner selling the website? And like sometimes the owner, they're not going to tell you the truth. Like I don't know why they wouldn't, but everyone's got different reasons for selling websites. Some people think they've taken it as far as they can go. Some people, they just don't want to do this anymore. Or, but it can you can take advantage of it. Sometimes there's opportunity there, I feel. I'll just give you an example. I bought a website recently from someone that needed the cash urgently. It wasn't listed on any platforms. He reached out to me because he knew I was, I bought and sold websites, and he asked, could I close the deal very quickly because he needed the cash, which initially kind of rung alarm bells. Like, why is someone interested in selling the site so quick? And, what do they need cash for? But I did the same due diligence that I would do. And, I said, yeah, I can close quick, but I also need a day or two to do proper due diligence. And I need to do all the normal checks, but we can do this quickly as we can. And yeah, I ended up buying the site. It was massively undervalued because of the speed that I could close the deal at. He didn't have the time to post in a Facebook group or post it with one of the brokers. And I probably bought it, I imagine, at like 2 to 3 times under market value if I was going to sell it, in the next couple of months. So opportunities like that do exist. They probably won't fall in your lap. I think I'm fortunate enough that I've kind of built a reputation over the last couple of years of buying and selling sites, but there definitely are opportunities out there like that if you ask the right questions, and you never know what someone's situation is. They might need cash quick, and if you can offer to close quicker than other people, then they might accept a lower offer than you, because that might be, the trigger that you can pull or the lever you can pull to close the deal in your favor.
Yeah, it's like buying the house, isn't it?
Yeah.
Got the cash only deal.
Cash buyer.
Cash buyer. Yeah. Got my friend, Facebook user here again. Like he keeps showing up. I don't know if it's a he or she, but hi, Mark. I don't know who that is. That's funny.
There's another question from Cameron in there. If you want to pull that one up on the screen. If it's cool, go back to revenue. What are some immediate red flags when evaluating P&L? It's hard to say what the red flags would be in evaluating P&L. I mean, you don't want to see a downward trend, but you'd get that kind of sense from analytics. Actually, there is something that I would immediately discount from a P&L, and that's sponsored posts. Whenever I see a website that's selling sponsored posts, even if it only makes up a small part of their revenue, I just immediately kind of dismiss it. I'm not interested in buying a site that sells that. But what I do look at them, and I see loads of them on Flipper. What I do see is typically a site will be doing well. Maybe it's making, $1,000 a month from AdSense, for example, say, and then, it gets hit in an update and the revenue drops to 300. And then all of a sudden the seller is claiming that they're now selling $700 a month in sponsored posts. So they say the website's still making $1,000 a month, but I often wonder, how genuine that is. How would you prove that they've sold $700 worth of?
Super hard to verify that it's genuine. Yeah.
So sponsored posts, just a big no for me. Any red flags you can think of there, Mark?
No, I was going to say, just also with those, like, just because if it's selling guest posts, just because they have managed to do that in the past, I don't know, even if it was true, to say that. I mean, where are their leads coming from? Like, where is it? Just through organic? Like, how are they getting the approaches? Like, I get there's just so many question marks, isn't there? Like on that, but the P&L. I guess it gets more complicated than just a normal content site. Should be pretty straightforward. There should be very few costs, But once you start going to e-commerce or lost it, but when you drop shipping and stuff like that, like suddenly it gets more complicated. And I haven't ever bought one of those sites, those type of sites, so I wouldn't know what to look out for. But I guess it gets more complicated once you start heading down that road. Yeah,
for sure.
Cool.
The last point I've got on the last point on the website due diligence part, and this is just more of a tip for both buying and selling, is always use Escrow. And there's different platforms out there for Escrow. The main one I think most people are familiar with is escrow.com. They do charge a fee, and it can be a couple of $100 sometimes. And usually you'd negotiate with the buyer and seller, like we'll split the escrow fee 50-50, or one of my favorites if I'm negotiating on price is to say, will you take a low multiple and I'll pay the escrow fee? And it works out way better in my favor, but it feels like there's a bit of give and take both sides then. And with escrow, like we mentioned earlier, when you go through the process of setting up an escrow transaction, it's essentially like a binding contract. You go on and say, this is the asset that I'm buying, for example. This is the purchase price. This is who I'm buying it off, and you put in their email address. And then you also set an inspection period, which basically gives you a set amount of time to, once everything's transferred over to you, to verify that the traffic levels are correct and to verify revenue is coming into your affiliate account at the same rate you would expect it to be. And I have had cases where I've struggled to get, for example, I've gone for quite a short inspection period, thinking that I'd be able to get the site into, from AdSense into Ezoic and get accepted into Ezoic fairly quickly. But that hasn't happened. It hasn't been accepted very quickly. So, you can go back and say, hey, I need to extend the inspection period for another 5 days until that happens to make sure that the site isn't blacklisted or blocked from, Ezoic, for example. So you can extend it. I would always try and recommend negotiating the longest inspection period you can up front, and because you can always end it early. It is the two of you have to agree to extend it, whereas you can just end it early. So my tip there would be to pick as long as you can, both agree on that's good for you, and go from there.
What do you normally go for? What have you done in the past?
Yeah, ideally I'd like 14 days. Ideally, the one where I got caught short was 5 days. I've got a premium account manager with Ezoic, and I thought this will be easy. I'll switch it over tonight, and I'll email them and tell them. But they're on holiday. Nobody's there. Nobody's there to fast track me. So, you just have to have it extended a little bit then.
Yeah, I mean, can you extend it as much as you want? Can you do 30 days, or like how is there a limit to that?
I think the most I typically see is 21 days, but that's a long time. Like I think most are like 7 to 14 days really is about right.
I guess they're still waiting for their money at that point as well. Yeah. So
exactly. Yeah. They're still waiting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's safer for both of you. It's safer for you as a buyer. It's safer because, like I say, if it's not right, you can cancel the transaction, and all you've lost is the escrow fee. And if as a seller of the website, that you're not going to transfer the files to someone, the website and the domain, and they're just going to run away and never pay you. So, it's safe for both sides.
Yeah. Awesome. I think, is that it for website due diligence?
Yeah, I think so. I'm conscious that we've only got an hour. We could probably talk for a whole hour just on due diligence.
I know.
Yeah.
I was thinking, well, maybe if we get some feedback that people want us to dig into specific areas. This is kind of, I guess, it's like a high level overview for now, right? So we'll take it at that. Okay, should we talk about deal flow?
Yeah, deal flow is an interesting one because there's marketplaces, there's Facebook groups, there's private deal flow. And I think they all have their pros and cons. Like some are good for some things, some are good for the other thing. And the same when you come to sell your website, as marketplaces have their place when you sell a website. Facebook groups have their place when you sell a website, but you've got to have like almost a different approach to them. So I think we'll start off by just kind of listing out some of the main marketplaces. And of these 5, I've got personal experience with 4 of them. So I can answer any questions anybody has on the experience or, how it would work with these. So we've got Flipper, Empire Flippers, Motion Invest, Investors Club, and FE International. There's more out there. There's quite a few more marketplaces out there, but I feel like these are the main ones for people directly in our space.
Yeah.
Flashing up some comments there, Mark.
So yeah, it's St. Patrick's Day, I guess. Has been
yeah, it is. Yeah, St. Patrick's Day
there. So that's why they got the sham. Is that not shamrock? Is it
shamrock?
Yeah,
shamrock. Yeah.
Oh, it's a shamrock. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you get on top of a pint of Guinness when you go there.
Yeah, Guinness.
So,
cool. So yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, they're the 5 main ones, I think, in our direct space. And there's some considerations about each of them that you should probably consider. Not so much as buy-in. I think you should go, if you're buying a website, you should probably go and have a look at them all. Some of them are almost like pay to display. So, for Investors Club, you have to pay a fee to join and look at their listings. With Empire Flippers, you can see some high-level data, but you have to pay a deposit to go and unlock the listing fully and do stuff. But places like Flipper, Motion Invest, they're not pay to view. You can just go there and typically you can view all the information on the website. Now, if you are selling a website through these guys, they do charge a fee, obviously. That's how they make the money. And it does vary quite a bit, actually. When I was pulling this data together, I was actually surprised at the range. So Flipper is anything from 5 to 10%. They'll take from the value of the sale, sell it for 10,000, and they'll take between 500 and 1,000 of that straight away. Empire Flippers is 2% to 15%, but I think the 2% is really for their 7, maybe their 8-figure deals. I know they've done.
It has to be pretty high.
Yeah. Motion Invest is 15 to 20%, again, depending on the deal size. Investors Club is 5%, so it's quite low, but you're also limited with buyers there because you have to pay to view the listings. You have to join. And FE International is between 10 and 15%. So it's if you sell on the website, it's pricey. You've got to think, and you've got to justify that with, are they able to access more, a bigger marketplace of buyers? Essentially, their Rolodex of buyers. Like that fee covers the access to the Rolodex, and also, are they able to negotiate for you a higher multiple?
I think that's the argument, I guess, they'd have, is that we'll be able to get the money back in our database, or the multiple that we can agree will get you more money for your site. So I guess that would be their argument, right?
Exactly. But on the flip side, if you're buying a website privately, you can use that to your advantage because, again, I don't know how many deals I've negotiated on by saying, I'll pay you. Like we've not agreed a price, but we've come to a middle ground of maybe 35x, and then I'll say, awesome. But if you were selling this to a broker, they take 10% off. So let's do that, and we'll agree on a 32x, for example. You can just use it as a negotiating tactic as well. Yeah,
for sure. Is it worth mentioning that, like, the kind of typical deal sizes that you can expect from these different places as well? Because they are different. They are brokers, but they kind of operate in different spaces generally, don't they? Or some of them do, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think on the higher end of things, like typically, 7 to 8-figure deals, you're looking at Empire Flippers and FE International. They tend to deal on the high end of things. They've got obviously they deal on the lower end, but they do sell 7 and 8-figure websites as well on the high end. And then coming down from there, I think a good middle ground is Investors Club. They only accept websites with a minimum of $500 per month revenue. So it's got to be worth at least kind of $15,000, $20,000 for them to even consider listing it. Motion Invest also have a range of websites that are kind of in that price range, but really on the lower end of the price range, you're looking at Flipper and Motion Invest. Really, they sell sites anything from 0 revenue up to the high end, but lots of them are down in the low end as well.
Yeah. And that's why the multiple's a bit higher, I think, on Motion Invest, because generally the deals are a little bit lower. So you've kind of got to make their money from a higher percentage. So what are the best sites to sell domains? So I think, there's a couple that I can think of off the top of my head. So one, if you've gone, take a look at our age domain, we've got live stream that we did on Tuesday, which was HTML due diligence. If your domain passes all of those checks that we've described in there, then we'll be willing to maybe have a look at it for you. So send it over to us. It might be something that we're interested to look at. Also, I think Otis do that now, right? I think they'll buy privately.
They're starting. They're building it, yeah. And if your domain meets the Otis criteria, then I think in the next, I don't know if they've got a launch date or not yet, but there's talk that they're offering like a self-serve platform. You can go and list your domain for sale there, assuming it meets the Otis criteria.
Yeah. So yeah, take a look at the Tuesday video. If it meets that criteria, then send it over and we'll take a look.
I guess the other places to sell it are, I mean, you could always try and sell it through GoDaddy auction if you wanted to.
Yeah.
We've tried to sell domains back through GoDaddy auction sometimes, and they are hit and miss because it just depends on who bids on them. Sometimes we've sold them for decent money, and other times we haven't. Apart from that, there's not a ton of actual places you can go and sell just a domain on its own, really. I don't think at the moment. Probably why Otis is looking at incorporating that into their platform. But I do see a lot of people also trying to sell domains through the Facebook groups. So you've got our niche website Flippers Facebook group, got the Flipping Websites Facebook group. There's a couple of others out there that allow buying and selling of sites and domains, and I do see them. But typically, they're not super well. The ones I've seen through the groups are typically not super high quality or extremely overpriced. One or the other, typically.
Yeah, cool. What's next?
Oh, I've also on the platforms, I also pulled out the kind of exclusivity, which basically means if you list the website with them, some of them lock you in for a certain period of time. You can't list it anywhere else, or if you do sell it anywhere else, they still want their 2 to 15% fee as well. Flipper. I think this is pretty fair. It's only exclusive while it's live on their website. There's Empire Flippers is the longest of those, I think, at 60 days. So listed on Empire Flippers, you can't list it anywhere else for 60 days. And if you sell it somewhere else, then you're still got to pay. Next is the Investors Club at 45 days, and then Motion Invest at 30 days. So
and then FE International isn't on that list, but
I couldn't find their exclusivity time frame.
Yeah, I'm sure we've talked to them about that before. I'm sure. Yeah, well, maybe it was in there. Well, they were on our podcast before, weren't they? I think it's similar to like Empire Flippers, 30 to 60 days, something along those lines.
I imagine so, and it kind of makes sense, especially on the higher end of things. Like if they're going, like typically, Empire Flippers and FE International will do a level of their own due diligence on the website before they agree to list it, and then they'll verify the revenue, they'll do all that kind of stuff. It makes sense that they're going to spend time and effort and resources doing that they're going to want to lock you up for 30, 60 days. The only downside is, like I say, if you then all of a sudden get somebody reach out to you and say, hey, I want to buy your website, and then you manage to sell it, you've still got to pay. So
and someone like Flipper as well, there's a lot of sites on there, right? So there's a lot of crap you got to work your way through to actually find something a bit more work. But they do have filters. You can get filters, and you can get emails, right, for that meet your criteria as well. Speaking of places where there's lots of crap sites to go through, Facebook groups as well can be a good place if you can filter the crap.
Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, I've bought and sold loads of websites over the years through Facebook groups, and it can be really good. You've just got to do a lot of digging through the crap to find some of the good ones, essentially. And it's the same when you're selling through the site. Whenever I sell a website or try and sell a website through a Facebook group now, I always make like a pack. I call it like a website selling pack, which is basically just a Google document with the URL, the top level financial data, the 12/6 3-month trend of the revenue over those time periods, screenshots from Google Analytics, breaking down everything we talked about at the top, the source of the traffic, the breakdown, the trend, top pages, and then if it's affiliate revenue or display ad, I'll also include screenshots in there as well in that document. And then typically at the bottom, I'll put like a little write-up of if I've done any work to the website since owning it. So, this is a list of things that I've done over the last 6 months or whatever. And I'll also try and include a list of quick wins. So, if I was to keep the website or if I wanted to continue to grow the website, this is what I would do. And then, because what will happen is you put the website for sale in one of these groups and you'll get 10 messages within 10 minutes, everyone saying, yeah, I'm interested, send me the details. And I guarantee of those 10 people, 9 of them are tire kickers. So I just send them the document, say, have a look at this. If you're interested, let me know and I'll add you to analytics and we can have a deeper conversation. And it gets rid of, it's a massive time saver. Before I used to answer every single person and I'd be copy and pasting messages and stuff.
Yeah.
Don't
It's
do
worth
that.
doing. You're probably going to get genuine buyers more interested as well if you've taken the time to put that together. You can really pull out some of the stuff that you want to pull out. Definitely worth it.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing about Facebook groups as well is you have to handle everything yourself. There's no middle person like a marketplace. You have to handle all the communication. You'll have to handle typically the migration of the website. Now, hopefully, if you're new to this, you'll be dealing with someone on the other side that's experienced and can do the migration for you, or you might be using a hosting company like WPX who offer free migration services. But you still have to go through that. You still have to go through and change all the affiliate links yourself. I think Empire Flippers do that as a service, as a standard. They'll do that for you. So you basically just have to handle the whole transaction. And then again, you have to be mindful of payment methods. And this, I've tried to buy websites in the past and the person on the other side doesn't want to use Escrow and the deal falls apart because of it. Whereas if you go through a broker, there's no other option. You can't not use Escrow, for example. So pros and cons.
Yeah.
Typically, though, sorry, go on. I was just going to say, typically, it sounds like we're kind of saying the brokers are better, but typically you'll find a buyer quicker in the Facebook groups I found of deals at a certain size. When they get over a certain value, I don't think that's true. So you'll find a buyer quicker. I found that you can, if you're buying a website, you can negotiate a better deal through there. And if you're selling, you can use the reverse psychology trick again. You could basically say, well, he says, I'll give you 35x, but like, no way, I'll just list it with a broker next week for 45. You just don't mention that they're going to take the 10% then or whatever, So you can negotiate both ways. But my experience has always been, if you can find I always go to the Facebook groups first. If you can find a buyer or seller in there first, then I personally feel that's better.
Probably people know, everyone knows your tricks now, so that it's not gonna wash.
I know.
But we have a Facebook group that's got 13,000 members in it. Niche website flippers. So if you're not already a member of that, go ahead and sign up to it. It's in the show notes actually. So niche website flippers and niche website builders Facebook group. So head over there and you can go and grab them out. Cameron says the search is pretty poor. Flipper. Deepak, I think for start sites, for starter like me, Flipper has some beginner websites. So yeah, it's a good place to find some smaller sites. They do, yeah. And I did notice that as well. I noticed it was flipping around in my head, behind my head.
Does that mean we got to 25 likes?
Well, no, because likes and subscribes is different, right? But if you look above my head, it changed over and it said a +10 when you were chatting away. But so yes, but we've got 28 likes. Now.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll talk about the next point while you start getting the names together, is it?
Okay, yeah. Everyone, anybody who wants to be in the draw, I'm going to see if this works. Type something into the chat now. I think you have to be recently said something in the chat. So if you want to be part of the giveaway draw, type it now because I'm going to cut and paste it out. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do it manually again and then really try and work out how to do it next time. So I think this was the problem last time. I hope so. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So while people are doing that, I just got literally the last point on the website deal flow stuff, which is a lot more hard. There's a lot more effort involved, but it's finding your own deal flow, like private deal flow. And what I mean by that is Going out there and manually looking for websites, or scraping lists of websites and then reaching out to them manually and saying, "Hey, I'm interested in your website. Are you interested in selling?" And I've done this in the past, and I've had very little success. I have bought one website through this way, but I've probably reached out to, I don't know how many, probably 50 plus websites, and had 1 out of 50. But the one that if you can pull off a deal like this, the upside can be massive. I'll give you an example. There's one which I've been trying to buy for probably a year and a half. I can't get any answer from the owner, and the website it's called bear-tracker.com, like as in the animal, bear-tracker.com.
Yeah.
If you go to that website, like, it genuinely looks like a website from the year 2000. It's ridiculous. It's got little flashing banners, and it's not great. But what's super interesting about this site, I'm just literally going to pull it up in SEMrush as we speak here. It gets a ton of traffic. There's no adverts on there as well, by the way. So it's not monetized at all. Well, I say it gets a ton of traffic. It looks like it's declined recently. It was getting, according to SEMrush, 80 to 90,000 visits a month, which was probably closer to 200,000. But it looks like it's dropped off to 60,000 now. But if you can buy a site like that, it's probably not even on WordPress. Switch it over to WordPress. Switch up the design to a much better design. Put ads on there. If it's getting 200,000 visits a month, even if you get $10 per RPM, you're probably going to be talking $2,500 a month in revenue. You've got a site in your hands worth 75, 80,000. If you can get in touch with that person and buy that site, it's got no revenue. It's not making them anything. They probably don't know the value of what they've got. I imagine you could get that site for less than 10K. But yeah. I've emailed several times. I've tried. Yeah. Can't get in touch with them.
It can be pretty hard. Yeah. I got one question for you. Would you ever consider? Would you personally consider buying a site pre-revenue under any circumstances?
No, not pre-revenue. Because if I was going to buy a website pre-revenue with the skill set that I have and the team we have around us, I'd rather build one. The only reason that I buy websites rather than build them is just the time to revenue, essentially. Like, it's cash flowing from day one. If I buy a website that's got revenue, if I buy a website pre-revenue, defeats the whole object. Might as well just build one. In my opinion. I
think actually. Yeah, go on.
That's not to say I won't buy a website that has low revenue but is ramping up very quickly, though.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I have, and I guess it was kind of similar to what you were saying. Is that I bought a site, had 25 posts on it, but it was doing 7,000 visitors a month, but hadn't put any ads on it, hadn't done anything yet. It was a niche that I was already in. Yeah, like it was clearly like it was a decent niche. I knew I'd already identified it as a decent niche, but the fact it had decent traffic after a year with just 25 posts, then
I misunderstood the question. I thought you meant, would I buy a website with no revenue because it had no traffic? I would 100% buy a website that has traffic and no revenue.
Yeah. So if it's got traffic, then you buy it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and yours was more strategic as well, right? Because am I thinking about the site that you merged into a bigger site?
Yeah. It was DR nothing, but it was just had no authority whatsoever. But even so, even if it wasn't, I saw a site like that, I think I'd be happy to pick it up for the right price. But I picked it up like really cheap, like $1,500 or something. So
yeah, for sure,
it's fine. Cool. I think that actually worked. Yeah, it worked. So we haven't got everybody. We haven't got all 25 people, but we've got 18. So we've got one more thing to cover. So if you want to be in the draw, type something in the chat. Anything. Please be rude if you want, but then you and then we get you in the draw. So the only last point that I think we should cover, I think is important, is value in a website. If you're buying and selling, it's probably one of the most important things to look at. And it's changed a lot over the last 2 years. Like, since 2 years ago, multiples were totally different from what they are today. And I'd be interested to hear Mark's thoughts on multiples and where they're going as well. But valuing a website, especially one that has revenue already, I mean, in theory, it's a relatively
straightforward process. It's the last X amount of months revenue. So typically 12 months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes even 3 months, depending on the circumstances. So whatever that average revenue over that period is, times by a multiplier, gives you a range of, an idea of what the value of the website is. And that multiplier is a big one, and it can vary massively, and it can vary based on some of the factors we talked about above. Does the traffic, does lots of the traffic go to one post? If it's below 20%, but lots of the traffic goes there, you can use that as a discount factor and say, well, I'll pay a smaller multiple, or the content quality is okay, but it could do with updating. Therefore, I'm going to try and negotiate a smaller multiple. So multiples these days, I think, if you look at the brokers, they're 35, 40, 45, even on Empire Flippers going up as high as 50x. Whereas 2 years ago, they were 25, sometimes 20, 25, pushing 30x maybe. So they've definitely increased quite a lot over the last 2 years. And I, personally, I feel they're only going to carry on increasing. Me and Mark were talking about this offline the other day, and like I could kind of justify a 50, 60x multiple, really, because compared to other asset classes, even if you pay a 60x multiple, the percentage ROI, even if the website stayed steady, is still typically higher than you would get investing in an index fund over, a 10-year period, or investing in property. Typically, they're 8 to 10% over the long term. Even at a 60x multiple, you're still talking 15 to 20% return, typically, if the website stayed still.
We're doubling your money in 5 years, basically.
Yeah, there's more risk involved than being in the market. Typically, depends when you invested. But the return is higher. So I don't see valuation slowing down until they get at least up to kind of 50, 60x. Which is, I think, an opportunity now. You can buy a steady website today and keep it for 12 months, and the multiple has probably gone up in 12 months.
For sure. I think it's important to emphasize here is like how solid is the income from that site? Is it a if you can demand a higher multiplier or expect to pay a higher multiplier if it's got like a mailing list, if it's got other assets, a YouTube channel with a bunch of subscribers, if it's got a Facebook group associated with a mailing list, like any of those things, that means it's not just relying on one traffic source, it's just a more solid business. Whereas if it's a site that looks like it's been hit by a couple of updates and recovered over time, and like looks a bit more like, it's gone down, but it's kind of looks okay now, but like, is it going to stay okay for that? Like if you're thinking about, you're going to keep it for a certain period of time to get your money back, like you've got to be pretty confident it's going to be able to continue that same income for that period of time. So then you can start looking at 50, X or whatever. Like, but if, for some sites, it might only be 30x is worth because of its history or whatever. So, but I think if it's just a standard content site, that's everything's white hat, looks clean, looks solid, you've had regular traffic over a period of time, over a number of years, then I think 40x should be what you're looking at with that problem straight away. And then add to that if you've got anything else to go with it, and take away from that if it's got anything negative pointing at it. So.
Yeah, agreed. And just on that point you said there, if it's got additional assets, I've personally paid a higher multiple in the past for, for example, a website that has a YouTube channel with it and has a couple of thousand subscribers to the YouTube channel. It's another asset. So yeah, if you've got that, then you can demand a higher multiple, essentially.
Yeah. Cameron's on fire today.
Yeah, good question. Really good question. I don't use anything special. I keep everything in a G sheet. And I basically keep a running track of the P&L month by month. So it gets updated at the end of every month. Any expenses I've spent, the breakdown of revenue. Apart from that, you can get most things from the platform. So, I don't record my traffic month by month in a spreadsheet or anything like that. I don't take screenshots or anything month by month. The only thing I really keep is the P&L. And also, I'll almost always try and keep a record of the previous revenue before I bought it. This just goes back to my preferred model of buying, improving, and selling. It's a story I can sell it's a story I can tell when I come to sell the site. This is the revenue for the 6 months before I bought it. This is the month I acquired it. This is what I've done. This is the revenue afterwards. This is why it's worth basing the value on the last 3 or 6 months, because these are the changes I've done and this is how the revenue's changed. So always try and keep a copy of that as well.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take one more last question, and then we're going to do the draw, because it's gone up to the hour now. So, which asset do you prefer? Stocks, website, real estate? So, cop-out answer is balanced portfolio, right? So, all of them.
It is. I don't mind sharing. I've got 80% of my assets in websites. I've got an Airbnb, so I guess that's classed as real estate. And I've got some money in crypto, so a little bit in stocks, but more in crypto essentially. But yeah, 80% of my value, my worth is in websites at the moment, and I can't see it changing for the next year or two. While I think we're almost in this golden age where multiples are going to keep going up, and as long as I can still keep finding these great deals where I can flip them in 6 to 8 months and keep adding and building to my core portfolio, I don't see that changing too drastically. Yeah,
and I'm probably like 65% website, 35 crypto. So
crypto, Ellen that says crypto. Yeah. This is not financial advice, by the way, because Mark is the anti indicator. As soon as Mark buys crypto, it's the top. It's the short-term top.
It's true. It is so true. Okay, so let's do the draw, shall we? Okay. Okay, let's do it. I didn't get everyone. Yeah. If you didn't get in, you didn't get in. You didn't get there fast enough. But here we go. Oh, Chris! Well done, Chris.
Yay.
Should we do two this today? I'm feeling.
Yeah, because we didn't do one yesterday. Because we didn't quite get to 25, did we?
Or Tuesday, yeah, we didn't do any. Okay, cool. Let's. Hang on. Number of likes.
Where are you going?
All right, I'm just going. Just seeing how many likes we had. 31. Ready? Go. And Michael, congratulations, Michael. So, Michael and Chris.
Can you make sure you reach out to us though? Because somebody won a T-shirt on the first stream and not reached out to us with the details. So
yeah, I wonder if they tuned out before the end and missed it, or for whatever reason. We should try and reach out to them. I can't even. I'll have to watch the stream back to remember who it was, because I can't remember. But yeah, so yeah, Chris, and I've just deleted that person's name. Who was it? Michael
Thompson, was it?
Michael Thompson. Well done. Congratulations, guys. Right. Oh, Chris is happy. All right, excellent. Well, I think we'll kind of wrap it up there. We're kind of running over a little bit. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for all the good questions. Like really, really good. Really enjoyed that, and enjoying these streams in general.
Yeah. So yeah. What are our topics for next week? Have we got our next week topics lined up yet?
Oh, probably. Let's have a look.
Well, on Tuesday, on our Age Domain Tuesday, we're running through a case study.
We are, and then we're doing build versus buy part 1 for next week's the website investing show. Yeah. Yeah.
If you haven't noticed, I'm very much buy and Mark is very much build for our own portfolios. So we're going to do it in 2 parts where we kind of battle it out. They both got merits, but we talk about the pros and cons of both buying and building as an investment strategy.
Yeah. So that's part 1. We're going to cover Adam's stuff, and then part 2 will be my stuff, probably the week later or a couple of weeks later. But we've got a few things planned and lined up now, and we're going to do a few case studies. So yeah, lots of stuff to come. So yeah, get subscribe, tell your friends, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.